Os Guinness was born in China, the son of medical missionaries, and he has written 30 books. Most of his books have to do with the intersection between Christianity and culture. And we're blessed today to have him share with you a little bit about his book, The Call.
Probably second only to the cross, calling has put its stamp on history and culture in a proven way. And if we find it again today, it will make an incredible difference.
How has it put its stamp on history in a proven way? What are you thinking of when you make that statement?
Well, when I say that, the Reformation is one of the greatest movements of ideas in Western history by any standards. And one of the truths at the heart of the Reformation was calling. So if you read, say, Martin Luther's Babylonian Captivity, it's not about calling, it's about the sacraments. But on one page, he talks about the faith of someone out in the fields, a farmer or his wife. If they have faith and a sense of calling, it will integrate the whole of their lives in an extraordinary way. And Luther says that is just as high and holy as the pastor in the pulpit. Now, when that paragraph, it was almost just a paragraph, was discovered, it made an incredible impact across Europe, almost instantly. And the same can happen today.
How did we lose the Reformers' holistic understanding of calling? And how do we recover it?
Around the 3rd century, under a gentleman called Eusebius of Caesarea, the bishop, he had the notion that Christian life had two characters, and this is his words, perfect and permitted. So the perfect life is spiritual for the elite, the monks, the nuns, the priests. The permitted is for lay people, farmers, lawyers, soldiers, and so on. People are going to have children. So you have a two-tier universe, full-time, part-time, spiritual, secular, and so on. And that notion goes right through the Catholic ages, and that's what Martin Luther shatters. But then with the rise of things like pietism, which was originally wonderful, it's slowly the dualism crept back in today. So you can see the irony is that, say, John Paul II, the Catholic Pope, he is closer to Martin Luther than many evangelicals are. Because we've got notions like full-time Christian service. What are other people? Part-time followers of Jesus? Nonsense. But you can see that dualism has crept back into evangelical circles again and needs to be rooted out.
How do we root it out?
Well, above all, through good teaching. We've really got to teach the word simply and practically, but apply it constantly. In other words, you say, is Jesus Lord of everything? Of course. He is Lord. We sing with deep and sincere devotion. But Christians don't realize they move out into the world, and the world tends to fragment us. So faith flourishes at home, one hopes. In the church, one hopes. But how about work and all the other spheres of life? But when I came to Christ, it was almost taught explicitly, it was certainly implicit, that if you were really dedicated, you were a minister, a missionary, or an evangelist.
How does a holistic understanding of calling transform culture?
The fact is that a lot of Christian faith today is not integrated. As I put it, the problem is not we aren't where we should be. The problem is that we're not what we should be where we are. So the number of Christians who've really thought through what it means to be a follower of Jesus in whatever their profession is or their job is are rather few. I believe we're living in an Augustinian moment. St. Augustine heard the reports of the sack of Rome by the Visigoths. In other words, his privilege and his task was to live at the end of 800 years of Roman dominance. And what's amazing is the Christians of his time, after the Emperor Theodosius declared Rome Christian, they identified the church and Rome. And as Rome spreads, the church would spread. So when Rome collapsed, the church would collapse. And Augustine, thank God, said, no, the city of God is not the city of man. And his vision was a vision of faithfulness that was like a bridge through and across the Dark Ages into what many centuries later became Christendom. Now, in the same way, take three simple facts. The decline of the West. We're living at the end of 500 years of Western dominance. The global era, it's over. Secondly, let's be blunt, we're living in the era of the relative decline, if not the absolute decline, of the American Republic. This is not the second American century. Thirdly, we're living in an era of the profound cultural captivity of the church. Now, in the Western world, the church is exploding in the global south, but not in the West. Put those three together, our challenge, like Augustine, is to live with integrity and effectiveness, faithfulness, today. Now that means, on the one hand, going back to explore, are we as close to the gospel as we should be?
Yes.
And on the other hand, are we engaging with the full challenges of the modern world, intellectual, sociological, political, and so on, as we should be? And that double challenge is ours.
Well said.